Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in, and in this video we will take a look at how you can roto efficiently inside Nuke. And the short answer to that question would be using tracking information. So I have divided this script into 3 examples, and we will take a look at each example one by one. And every example has been divided into 2 approaches. There's a regular approach and then there's an efficient approach. And let's take a look at that without further ado. So this is the first shot. As you can see, this is a 41 frames long shot, and the goal here is to make the yellow can, which you see right here, green. So how can we do that? Well, we would first have to start by rotoing this can, and then using something like a grade node, we can color correct the can based on the roto that we will be doing. So inside the regular approach comes the frame by frame method of doing rotoscoping, which means I would go in, and let me expose down so you can see the shape, the splines better. I would go in and start making a shape, and then I will just adjust it after every few frames. And this is exactly what I did here. As you can see, I threw a bunch of keyframes there, and I tried to adjust my shape whenever it was not matching the can. And this is the result that I got. If I press M and go to the matte, well, the roto matte overlay mode, you can see this is the result that I got. The shape indeed follows the can, but as you can see, the edges are not that flattering. It's swimming, it's not sticking to the corners, and it's jittering and jumping a lot, and that's not the best way to roto inside Nuke. So let me quickly show you how you can do this efficiently and put the computer to do all the hard work rather than you going in and doing it every frame by frame. So here's my plate. I put a roto node, and the thing that I want to roto here is this yellow can, right? What I'm gonna do now is use a cusp rectangle, go back to frame number 1, and make a big shape around my subject, big enough to cover the subject that I would like to roto. Once that's done, I'll select the shape, right click, and start planar tracking it forward. Nuke will now start analyzing the shot and the subject, and will pretty much do the hard work for us. And as you can see, the shape is now sticking to the can, and it's following wherever the can is going. If I were to play this, you can see my shape is following the movement of the can very well. And what this is going to allow us to do is, we've got the tracking information. Nuke did the hard part for us. Now all we have to do is feed in a custom shape that follows the can's edges nicely, and then we'll have a roto. So after you do this, once you do this, you'll see a Planar Tracker folder inside your Roto folder, which just means we literally converted the Roto node into a Planar Tracker node. So if I were to expand the folder and go down here, then you'll see the shape that we just created. Since this shape was just for us to give Nuke, tell Nuke the subject that I want to track, I don't need the shape anymore. I can actually go ahead and delete the shape, but keep the Planar Tracker folder because it stores the tracking information. What I'm gonna do now is make my own shape inside the folder. So what you do is you select the folder and you go back to frame 1, and then I can start rotoing it. This is the part where I can take my time to be precise with the edges, and the result that we get at the end should be flawless. Alright, we're done rotoing the can, and as you can see, the shape is now sitting inside the planar tracking folder. So now if I press M to go to the matte overlay mode and play the shot, you will see that the edges stick to the corner of the can very nicely, unlike the regular approach, which looks something like this. So regular frame by frame approach and the efficient approach using the Planar Tracker. That's a big difference. I know I was not able to get the corners of the can very nicely, but no problem. I'll go back to the frame number 1 and adjust my shape a little bit to match the can better. I'm pretty happy with this, and now well, the task was to make the yellow can green, so let's do that. So I got the Roto. What I'm gonna do is view my plate, put a grade node, go to gain, and try to make my plate more green, something like this. Once I do that, I can use the mask input of the grade node and plug it into the Roto node, and you'll see Nuke will now only grade the parts of the plate that we just rotoed out. But the problem here is that the edges are a little too sharp for my liking. So what I can do now is just put a blur node and increase the size a little bit, and then you'll see that Nuke will start making the edges a little bit softer, and that looks a lot better. So if I turn this off and turn it on, I hope you can see the difference, and I can adjust the shape furthermore to match the edges better. Right, once that's done, let me play the shot once again. So much neater. Awesome. Let's move on to example number 2. So here's the shot that I've got. Let me bring back the exposure to default, and I'll play the shot for you once. As you can see, this is a 72 frames long shot, and the task here is to roto the windows, well, these 3 windows that you see on your screen. Right, so I went in and I tried rotoing the first window that you see here, just to save some time and see how that would look like if I were to do it using the frame by frame approach. And this is the result that I got. Let me press M so I can go to the overlay mode, and the edges are again swimming and jumping around, and I'm not very happy with this result. Of course, I can go in and drop a bunch of few more keyframes if I like, but yeah, it's not worth it. So let's move on to the efficient approach. I just dropped in well, let me drop in a new Roto node. Let's go back to frame 1. And in this case, the goal is to roto all the 3 windows here, right? So that all the 3 windows are my subject in this case. So I'm gonna make a bigger roto. I'll use my cusp rectangle and make sure I include all the 3 windows. Let's go out of the matte overlay mode, select the shape, right click, and planar track this shape forward. Notice how every time we right click and do planar track this shape forward, Nuke gives us a planar tracker folder, and this is the folder that's storing all the information again. Right, so we are almost done. Let's take a look if the shape is sticking to the subject or not. I'll exposure down. It's a little bit steppy, but that's because the Nuke is still buffering the shot. Let's give it a second, and alright. That looks like it's sticking nicely. Cool. To test it even more, let's delete the shape that's sitting inside the Planar Tracker, and let's add our own windows. I would go with the cusp Bezier in this case and start rotoing the windows here. One done, 2 more to go. Alright, let's go to the matte overlay mode and start playing. That's a lot better. The edges and the corners all stick nicely to the windows, and that was very fast. I'm pretty sure I spent more time doing this using this approach than I spent doing this approach. Once again, if I were to take a look at this, again, the corners were not sticking. It was jumping, it was swimming, and this looks a lot better. Alright, once we have the roto done, my task was just to roto out the window. So what I can do here is plug this out, use something like a copy node, put the A pipe to the alpha, put the B pipe to the RGB, and then just pre-multiply the windows out. If I were to bring back the exposure back to default, we just got our windows on black, pre-multiplied. The edges are a little bit too sharp. Again, I can drop something like a blur node to make the edges a little bit softer. And that works. Cool. Let's move on to the next example. So this is what the example 3's shot look like. So the task here is to roto the suitcase and put it over a checkerboard. Alright, so I will have to go in and roto out these two suitcases. Well, forgot an S there. Roto out these two suitcases and put them over a checkerboard. So again, just to save some time, I went in and I just tried rotoing this one suitcase, this brown suitcase here, frame by frame. I went every 10 to 12 frames in, I put a keyframe, and this is the result that I got. That is this corner, and oh yeah, my key, this is not working. All right, let's go in and try doing it with the Planar Tracker. Oh, ignore this. Let's make a new roto node. I'll go back to frame 1 and make well, in this case I would have to go with not just a square, but feel free to go around and roto out the subject. It doesn't necessarily have to be a square or anything, so long as I can cover the subject, it's all good. All right, that's done. Let's select the shape, and as usual, go and planar track the shape forward. Alright, done. Let's expand the Planar Tracker, remove the shape once again. Now I can take my sweet time and try to roto out the suitcases, and I'm gonna make sure that I include everything that I need, all the tiny details, so no need to rush here. Right, let me go in and do the same thing for the other suitcase. So I will select the tracking folder and make my own shape. Alright, so I've got both the shapes ready. Let's play and see how that's looking. As you can see, the shape sticks the suitcases nicely, but I am seeing some drifting here. as the shot progresses and we reach the end of the shot, I can see that my shape here no longer matches the suitcases nicely. In that case, I can introduce another keyframe, and that would be at the end of the shot. What I'll do is select a combination of points and then move them together rather than going in and moving each point separately. Doing it this way, we will make sure that we again avoid any sort of jittering that will be caused if I were to again move my shapes individually, my points individually. So this is a little bit too high. Let's bring it a little bit lower. And this part looks pretty good. Again, no worries, we'll go in and try to get those details later, but I just want to get the main shape of the suitcases right first. I'll do the same thing for the other suitcase. It was fine at the beginning, but towards the end, as you can see, this all does not match. Let's move that higher. This part of the suitcase, I think I can push it to the right. And in this case, I'm gonna make an exception and move a point individually, just a little bit. Sometimes when it's hard to see the edges, try using the exposure and gamma handles at the top. They will help you figure out where the edges lie. It's pretty handy. Cool, that's done. Let's play it again, and now that edge is sticking to the corner of the suitcase. Very well. Same for this part. Same for the top of the suitcase. I know I still have to go in and include these details, but we'll take care of them in just a second. Yeah. Alright, so now is the time to add all these details. Again, I'll select the folder and make more shapes. Let's go to the last frame to check if it sticks. It sticks, but has moved a little bit. No problem. We'll just fix it and push it back to its place. It's pretty good. The top handle seems nice. Seems like it's at the right spot. I can include this too. Let me see. Nope, not outside the folder, inside the folder. Yep. Frame 1. It has moved a little bit. Yeah, that is pretty good. I can go in and try including that part too, but it's the same thing. You get the idea. Let me quickly see if I can fix this part of the suitcase and try to get some details over there at the top. This is what our alpha looks like, and let's one final time test it. Forgot to include the handle. Cool, so the roto part is done. Following the task, I think we were supposed to put this over a checkerboard, right? So we got the roto right. What I can do now is use again a copy node, put the A pipe to the roto, put the B pipe to my plate. This thing can now be pre-multiplied so we can get our suitcases over black. And now we just have to merge this over a checkerboard. A here, B here, because A goes over B, not the other way. If I like, I can drop another blur node, give it some blur. Oh, that's a little too much. Yeah, that's about right. We can go and maximize it, and this is what it looks like. So that didn't take me too long, and the result that I get is pretty neat and consistent compared to what I was trying to do here, and I was just struggling because the edges were not working. So if I have to sum this up, I would just say that, well, there's nothing wrong with rotoing frame by frame, but it's just a lot of work and it's laborious, and it's like you keep doing it and you keep fine-tuning your shapes, but you come to that point where you have added so many keyframes that you start introducing jitter and swimming to your shots. And doing it with the Planar Tracker is like having the machine doing all the hard work for you, and then once you track your subject, you have the tracking information. It's so much more smoother to just put in your own custom shapes inside this Planar Tracker folder, and Nuke just takes care of the rest, and it gives you some nice results like this one. So I hope that video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them below and I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you very much for watching.